Welcome to the 210th broadcast of the T Row Show. It's your host, Keith. I'm going to address the coup today a little bit, not much. I know a lot of people are seeing what's going on, but we'll address what was written last night. And then we're going to address your another thing. We're going back to at least I am, going back to how T Row became popular. And by the way, we are back up to the million hits a week. So we're back up to 4 million again. So that's great. We do appreciate all the listens that we get, and that's on the website. That's the T Row Show website. We get those hits on. Okay, so we're gonna show you the origins of U.S. citizen, and folks, you really need to be careful about what you say when you're noticing what's going on in Washington D.C. Okay, you got to be careful. I'm going to show you why, because you are running into another deception, and that's what we're getting ready to. I'm getting ready to show you today. Okay, and I don't want to see you run into a deception. Now, I wrote this. Well, this was January 6th. This was right after I was watching what was going on in D.C. when they were storming the Capitol and everything else, and I noticed it was happening right when the election results were coming out, and people were starting to uh, object to the election results. And I go, oh man, that was so easy, it was unbelievable. Okay. So Dems order Antifa to invade the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. city state to hide election fraud. That's all it was. That's all it was about. The leader of China is already asking Biden if he wants Chinese soldiers. He's trying to loan them out. Well, guess what? The Dems have already made that deal with them. That if you can't get your communism enforced through the United Nations, we'll come in and we'll use our soldiers to do it, to turn the U.S. into, Hong Kong, that kind of thing. So I said, this is a very simple issue, folks. The Dems had to stop the election fraud hearings from going too far, meaning find actual election fraud committed by the Dems. Everybody knows what's going on. You can't landslide that. Okay. You just can't do it. It's just ridiculous. Once the Republicans entered their objections to the election results, the Dems ordered the strike against the Capitol building, and Joe Biden blames the opposition. That's all that happened. It is a classic blame your opposition for what you were doing CIA operation. Now, from this point of view, we see the whole storm of the Capitol building operation as a confession from Joe Biden, the press, and all electors that election fraud does in fact exist, because they're trying to hide it. If there was nothing to hide, there was no reason to do this. Everybody knows this guy right here, okay? This Jack Witt. The folks, you can't get in and do this. There's no way you can do that. You would have been shot before you got to the door, okay? Everybody knows it's a setup. I'm going to say it's a setup. Everybody knows. It says no one has this kind of access, but unless you were inside of the Dem CIA operation, these men would have been shot immediately, okay? Now, I don't know if you ever understood slam dancing. When people slam into each other, I guess they call it slam dancing. I'm not sure. But this will tell you right here. That's slam dancing. That's what they're doing. They're not fighting cops. This is fake. Okay, that's a fake. Let me share that again with sound. Okay. There you go. See, these aren't mega people at all. See how they're just playing? Nobody's being tackled, arrested, or anything like that. They're just slam dancing. That's all it is. And this is another fake fight. That's fake. Oh, you put that up. Oh, that's so horrible.
Yep.
Oh, it's scary. It's just stupid. It's stupid. All right. Now, the rest, everyone is going to hear this drama queen, self-important garbage for the next couple of weeks so they can get Joe Biden in and get the NWO without too much opposition. That's all they're trying to do. All right. And they're trying to hide the fact that they stole it. Everybody knows that. It's easy to figure out. And you're going to hear this, oh, we condemn this and blah, 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 blah. You know what, folks? The Republicans and the Dems were involved in it. They both did it. and they all ran against Trump. Every one of them. Everybody knows Pence is a wuss. Everybody knows Pence is a traitor. We all get that. We get it. That he was the only one that surprised me. The rest, I thought that man was a believer. He's not. Okay, he's just like the rest of them. He was very good at faking it. Very good at faking what he was doing for 4 years. Never seen somebody so disciplined in faking something. He hated Trump the whole time. Okay. Now, they will open the southern border so the senators can hire undocumented labor that tends to raise the profit margin of the companies that they own stocks in and get on with their comfortable lives that they were promised by the NWO folks. NWO, New World Order folks, never keep their promises. In every communist takeover, all of the people that helped in the communist takeover were murdered. Every single time. Okay, but here's the thing. Biden and those guys and these two parties, so-called parties, 527 organizations, don't have the authority. They're lying to the leader of China. They don't have the authority to open up the borders to China. China doesn't know that. They might now, but they didn't know that. Okay? They don't have the authority to do it. Now, opening the southern borders also allows more drugs into the country, not to mention that Joe Biden's crimes are hidden once in office. Election interference by China goes away. Mass murders by Hillary Clinton goes away because they're going to make her an ambassador to the United Nations. Okay? The clear deceptions are that these conspirators actually believe that if they are never caught or punished for their crimes on Earth, that the crimes go away. That is the funny part of this event. That's a hint, by the way. Okay? Big old hint. Democracy being attacked, right? Oh, it's democracy is being attacked. Democracy was attacked and defeated in 1933. What do I say? What? What do you mean it was defeated in 1933? That's what I'm going to show you tonight. We're going to go back to the original, some of the original form of the T Row show, which made it popular back within the last 4 years. Okay. So here's this woman here. She comes in.
Okay, everybody, we are almost at our hotel. We've been gone for a while. We started leaving right as Trump was finishing, so we have no idea what happened at the Capitol. But I'm going to tell you my impression based on what I saw today. There were several infiltrations from Antifa dressed up as MAGA. I believe that is who has stormed the Capitol. That's what's going on. This was all set up. It was set up to make us all look bad. It is not patriots.
Okay, now what is she saying right there? What she's saying is, and it's extremely important to know, that both parties attacked the people to make the people that voted for a candidate they didn't like and turned around and attacked the people. Now you know who the Democrats are and who the Republicans are. They turned against their own so-called constituency. They turned against them, folks, on behalf of a foreign power. I'm going to show you what that foreign power is, okay? Don't ever let this burn in really good. Let it burn in. Then maybe you'll understand what the government of the United States of America is doing internationally and why we keep saying these weird things. Just come out of nowhere and say something like, this is weird. Okay, like this right here. Let's go over here. Let's close this out. Understand. Let that burn in. Just letting you know. Let it burn in. They screwed you over. They screwed everybody over. Warning to those attempting to remove private property ownership. So we know who we're talking to. It has been declared by the National Assembly for the government of the United States of America that if anyone attempts to outlaw private property ownership, their persons will be nationalized. Their bodies will be held as surety, and both will be auctioned off as property, no matter if they are a prince, king, or otherwise. I don't give a damn who you are. If Charles wants to do that, we're going to auction his ass off. He's property. I'll show you how. If private property ownership is attacked and the following article is ignored by those that chose to ignore the rights of others, then those ignoring and clearly violating the UDHR rights are, and now public law, we made these things public law. Everyone has the right to own property alone as well as in association with others. This has been in play for the last 60 years or so. No one shall be arbitrarily deprived of his property. So anybody that says, oh, we're just going to get rid of private property ownership, that's fine. You become private property. You become our property. We're going to auction your ass off. Shall be sold to the highest bidder under international law along with all other property. Okay? Then we're going to lean your freaking property up and all that crap. And we're going to lean it for the next 100 years. Just letting you know. There will be a claim on everything you have for the next 100 years. You don't really think that communism is going to come in and that we're going to just recognize your right to own property, but everybody else's right to own property is not recognized? You really think we're going to go that direction? Really? You're out of your freaking mind. Okay. Now, here's what happened, and I wanted to show you what's going on here, folks, because something changed, and I wanted to make sure that everybody saw it change. Now, I'm going to be using a little bit of a Wikipedia deal, so just realize, folks, I know what Wikipedia is, but you can find this other places too, okay? So I'm not going to use it as a sole source. You can find this other places. All right, so here we go. Now, the Banking Act of 1933, I'm not going to, in any way, shape, or form, say or go over a bankruptcy. I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to expect this at all. You follow what I'm telling you? You're not going to expect what you're getting ready to see. Okay, now listen carefully. What is going to be read to you? And make sure you pay attention. Let's see what we got here. All right, there we go. The Banking Act of 1933, Public Law 7366, Stat 162, enacted June 16, 1933, was the statute enacted by the United States Congress that established a Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation and imposed various other banking reforms. The entire law is often referred to as the Glass-Steagall Act, after its congressional sponsors. Senator Carter Glass, Virginia, and Representative Henry B. Steagall, Alabama. The term Glass-Steagall Act, however, is the most often used to refer to 4 provisions of the Banking Act of 1933. Now, I'm going to ask you right now, did you catch it? Let me read it one more time. The Banking Act of 1933, Public Law, blah, blah, Stat 162, enacted June 16, 1933, was a statute enacted by the United States Congress that established a Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation and imposed various other banking reforms. The entire law is often referred to as the Glass-Steagall Act after its congressional sponsors, Carter Glass. Of Virginia, Representative blah, 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 Steagall, Alabama. Okay, did you catch it? Let's go back over here. Now, this is a transcript of the Constitution of the United States. I'm going to go ahead and do a reshare to make sure that this comes through. All right, it says right here, all legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in the Congress of the United States. Okay, all legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in the Congress of the United States. Let's do a reshare here. Make sure you're good to go so you can see it for yourself. The Banking Act of 1933 was a statute enacted by the United States Congress. There was no freaking United States Congress in existence. It's only a Congress of the United States. That's literally how it did business. There was no such thing as a U.S. Congress or United States Congress. So what the bankers did, okay, what the bankers did was they caused a depression. in order to cause one thing, so they can change the name and get past any sort of constitutional restrictions, if in fact it was being enforced at the time. They took over everything. They didn't necessarily coup a Constitution of the United States. What they did was they just abandoned it and brought a bunch of people over with a few little bennies. It's called a Social Security number and an SSN. And if you do this, you're going to get work and you're going to get all these bennies, benefits. And they slowly brought you over to a communist organization. This happened in 1933, folks. What you're seeing now has already happened. In 33, they'd already changed the name from Congress of the United States to United States Congress. They changed the name of the company, Federal Corporation. Right in front of everybody. And nobody saw it. Nobody saw them change anything. There was no United States Congress at that time. But they changed it. The bankers did. Federal Reserve. Okay? Here's the United States Congress, or U.S. Congress, right here. I'm going to show you a full freaking bold-faced lie. Not because it's Wikipedia, but this is what everybody believes. Okay? United States Capitol in Washington, D.C. Legislature, federal government, United States Congress. Look at this crap down here. Here's that little pinhead Pence, right? He's okay, it's preceded by the Congress of the Confederation. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. There was no United States Congress. It still doesn't exist, folks. You've been had. This Congress does not exist. Only a Congress of the United States exists. They did it with the banking, through the Banking Act, to where they could only have the people, right, and the banks. People, banks, no constitution. Let's play off like they have like all the people, because what happened was they needed the people to back their money. So, because in 1929, the Mississippi legislature said that it would take 42 years to mine all of the gold in the world to pay off the debt at that time. Now, how can you have that much debt from 1913 to that time? That doesn't make any sense unless you're cheating. So they changed the name. Went to United States Congress to U.S. Congress. That means this name doesn't exist. This body doesn't exist. Nowhere in any constitution whatsoever. So this whole page is complete crap. The Congress was created by the Constitution of the United States and first met in 1789, replacing in its legislative function the Congress of the Confederation. No, it was the United States and Congress assembled. Although not legally mandated in practice since the 19th century, Congress members were typically affiliated with one of the two major parties. What? Although not legally mandated in practice since the 19th century. Okay, so it wasn't created. The U.S. Congress, United States Congress, was not created in the Constitution. No such thing. Okie doke. Think I made my point. You'll figure out here in just a little while, even the bankers run China. Okay? They don't have any independence. It's the freaking bankers that run them. They have zero independence. Nothing. All right. It came from this particular resort. And this is where a few boys, okay, got together and they formed a social compact. And that was done in Jekyll Island. They were forming a social compact there. And it was all through banking. And when they did that, most of them that were there ended up in an office. Well, they couldn't do this under the Constitution of the United States, so they had to change the names, but not so much that anybody would notice. And that's what they did. U.S. Senate, U.S. Congress, U.S. this, U.S. that. Oh, we're in the U.S. Oh, saying I'm a U.S. citizen. There's no such thing. There's a citizen of the United States. That's it. But there's no U.S. citizen. There's no constitution that says that, folks. Y'all get that? They just did all this through banking legislation. They just wanted to take over the money. So here it is right here. This is Jekyll Island. And here's the colonization in 1733. This was General James, founded the colony of Georgia and named Jekyll Island in honor of Sir Joseph Jekyll, his friend and financier from England. All about the money, 1733. Diplomacy of nations. English, Spanish, and Greek Indians met on the island in an effort to settle their differences through diplomacy. How come they always have a conflict with people, right? Georgia's first brewery, they were the first ones to come up with this, 1747. William Horton purchased a great copper pot and began to brew beer in Jekyll Island and what would become and recognized as the state's first brewery, 1747. Remember, when did the revolution start? 1776, right? Signed, sealed, delivered, 1792. Boom, right from 1747 all the way to 1792 and jumped and completely skipped everything. Fleeing the French Revolution, Christophe, I can't pronounce that last name, purchased property on Jekyll Island. So that's him right there. Okay, and they got a big old house. They created a hunting club, collaborate, and turn Jekyll Island into a private hunting club for the nation's wealthiest individuals, quickly becoming their winter hideaway. My guess is they weren't just hunting animals, they were probably hunting children too. So here they are right here. Exclusivity. The island was purchased by the newly formed Jekyll Island Club, which Munsey's magazine called the richest, the most exclusive, and most inaccessible club in the world. Y'all get it? This is right in Georgia. These are the people that are caught, their ancestors are causing all of this. These people even changed the name of the Congress. Y'all get it? And didn't tell anybody. They traumatized people so much they didn't understand, didn't realize there was no such thing as the United States Congress. They just started saying it over and over again. Nobody caught it. The club officially opened its doors in January 1888, quickly becoming a retreat for families that represented 1/6 of the world's wealth. That tells you a lot right there. 1/6 of the world's wealth. The bankers, folks, they run China. Don't mess with the Chinese, man. They're just puppets. They run China. It's the Federal Reserve that's doing this. Owned by, in part by J.P. Morgan. Okay, this guy right here, the guy that's a banker today, who are the people that stole the Lewis Cash Paysure, P-E, I think it's P-E-Y-S, Paysure, P-E-Y. I'll have to go look it up. It's Lewis Cask, C-A-S-S. I think it's S-E-U-R, P-E-Y-S-E-U-R. He owned most of everything in the country. He was the one that also put the chameleon paper together for the Federal Reserve when it opened, and he actually stole that from another guy, one of his people. He was in a habit of giving out loans to people in their businesses and then foreclosing on them, taking the business and leasing it back to them as a favor. So that's how he got rich. And that's how he controlled things. J.P. Morgan and Rockefeller were his trustees. In 1939, when he died, J.P. Morgan and Rockefeller stole all of his family's stuff. How do I know that? I know the lady that wrote the book. I talked to her about all this, and she talked to the Paysure son, and he said, yes, they did steal all of our stuff. And yes, they did threaten us that if we were to go to court and try to stop it, they would kill us. So you got mafia running your banks. Just letting you know. Okay, 1901, built as an addition to the clubhouse, the annex featured 8 suites for members and their guests. And the first and second floors offering enclosed parlor rooms and river views. So keep in mind, folks, you can't claim treason because there's no United States Congress. None of these people are actually doing anything. And that's how they trick you. That's how they set up a legal trap for you. You have to realize that. They set up a legal trap. Now, next week, what I'm going to be talking about is the two separate jurisdictions that are available and why we operate under the Articles of Confederation. And it will show you chain of title all the way back and the whole thing. It's a completely different way of looking at things. Okay. And I have not gone over that in TRO, not this way that I'm getting ready to do. All right. So what did they do? Under the First, Fifth, and 14th Amendment, they offered their clubs. And they started a club and they changed everything from this club. Cherokee, named after one wild rose, reflects the Schrady family's life of elegant leisure. Built in the Italian Renaissance style, Cherokee is complete and double front doors, a spacious great room, and 10 guest rooms. There you go. Nice little house. Now here's the Federal Reserve under the cover of night and using only the first names to keep their identity secret. Now, why would they have to keep them secret? Come on now. Come on, boys. It says Senator Nelson Aldrich led a party of financial leaders to Jekyll Island to conceptualize a federal banking system, coined the First Name Club, together with the group drafted in the modern day Federal Reserve. And they changed the name so they wouldn't get hit for frickin' treason at the time. Can you hear me now? This is where this first thing, 1915, nation's first transcontinental phone call took place between President Woodrow Wilson, the biggest piece of crap on the planet, who signed in the Federal Reserve Act. He was a traitor to the country. In Washington, D.C., Alexander Graham Bell in New York, he was a traitor. Thomas Watson in San Francisco, he was a traitor. Henry Higginson in Boston, he was a traitor. And AT&T President Theodore Newton Vail at Jekyll Island Club, he was a traitor. All these people are traitors. They'll sell their grandmother for a dime. Built in the Italian Renaissance style for Richard Teller Crane Jr., he's a traitor, and his wife, Crane Cottage, is the largest, most lavish of the cottages. That's this big one right here. You know what this looks like to me? Beverly Hillbillies. Reminds me of that house. Featuring a sunken garden, fountains, and upper terrace. Today, Crane Cotton is still as awe-inspiring as ever, making it an ideal wedding venue. Okay. Well, that's important. You know, screw your country over, but we need that wedding venue. Now, even golf we know as 1924, USGA selected Jekyll Island as a testing ground for golf, replacing hickory shafts with new steel clubs, blah, 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 testing ball performance. Together, these strokes of genius resulted in the use of lighter ball and steel shafts, forever changing the game. Wow, that's just impressive. Okay, here's the Great Dunes Island Seaside Course. Great Dunes Golf Course was designed by Walter J. Travis, another traitor to the country. Here's the families with names like Rockefeller. Oh, there he is. Morgan, Vanderbilt, Pulitzer. A Pulitzer Prize, right? Traitor. Baker built elegant cottages designed for comfort in Victorian agricultural styles. Villa Mariana was the last of 18 cottages to be completed in 1928. So all these people just screwing everybody else over. World War II, the Jekyll Island Club flourished throughout the 1930s, but world events took their toll. Great Depression changed. That's not what happened. What happened was they made a lot of money in the war. So they didn't have to go to some freaking island. They started getting, what do you call it? Manhattan style apartments, that kind of thing, moving to the city type deal. The state era, the state of Georgia. Notice that the state of Georgia turned into a lowercase s state of Georgia. It was no longer the upper case state of Georgia. That's for the state within a state, political state. Purchased Jekyll Island from the Jekyll Island Club for $675,000. The island opened to the public as a state park in 1948. Okay, New Beginnings, Jekyll Island year-round beach resort. And in 78 became a landmark district. After a decade of neglect, abandonment, two friends, one lawyer and the other an architect, climbed through an unlocked window and then decided they wanted to change it. And then they had a grand reopening in 1987. And stars of the stage, Legend of Bagger Vance, starring Will Smith, Matt Damon, and Charlize, is shot along the riverfront lawn. Other notable films shot on Jekyll Island was X-Men First Class, Glory, and Live by Night, or Live by Night. Okay, conservation. Well, we need to start taking care of the turtles. Screw your country over and take care of the turtles. Here's a once in an indoor tennis court for guests of Jekyll Island Club, a joint venture between the Jekyll Island Authority and the Jekyll Island Club Hotel restored the Morgan Center to the conference center. Okay. Here's 2017. Ocean played a key throughout the history of Jekyll Island Club. From a natural beauty to the season opening arrival of the members' yachts, Jekyll Island Club resorts, all suite, oceanfront, boutique hotel, blah, 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 blah. So that's all the history of it. And you can plan your Jekyll Island vacation today. All right. So that's it. That's where it all came from. That's what happened. This is another email. Or, I'm sorry, it's another website. Okay, so this is another website. This is dealing with the Federal Reserve. This is 1917. The journalist B.C. Forbes, the founder of Forbes magazine, somehow learned about Jekyll Island trip and wrote about it in Men Who Are Making America, a collection of short biographies of prominent financiers, including Davidson, Vanderlip, and Warburg. But not many people noticed the revelation, and those who did dismissed it as a mere yarn, according to Aldrich's biographer. So you notice that nobody noticed this stuff, that they changed the name of everything to fit their plan here to take over. Participants themselves denied the meeting. The reason why they did is because they had just created a coup. It was a very quiet coup. Took over everything. Folks, you haven't been under a constitution since 1933. Okay? Warburg shared the story of Aldrich's biographer in 1930. Aldrich died in 1915, and Davison in 1922. I doubt that they died. More than likely, they just changed their name. The impetus for coming clean was probably the publication of 1927 of Carter Glass' memoir, An Adventure in Constructive Finance. In it, Glass, by now a senator, had claimed all the credit for the ideas of the Federal Reserve Act. After that, Richardson says the other people who contributed, particularly the on Jekyll Island guys, came out with books and articles to talk about their role in creating the Aldrich Plan. So they wanted to tell everybody what they did. They got away with it. And it still goes on today. J.P. Morgan's still a big boy. Rockefeller's still a big boy. All those people. They're all big boys. They run things and do things, and this whole idea is their idea. It's all about the Federal Reserve now. Don't look any further. It's all about the money. Jekyll Island Club never bounced back from the Great Depression, it says, but when many of its members resigned and it closed in 1942, today its former clubhouse and cottages are national historic landmarks and blah, blah, blah. So he's right about that. So it's not a fabrication. It is absolutely true. This was richmondfed.org. You can look at it there, talking about the Federal Reserve. And then the club history, you can find that in Jekyll Island. Okay, so new central. It wasn't a new central banking system. What it was this. What they figured out was they can make it appear as if there's a loan. In other words, just to make something from nothing. So what they did is they just changed it to where when you signed a promissory note, they deposited the promissory note as if it was money and then wrote a check off of that. If you can't get that, play this over and over again. You sign the promissory note, they deposit that into an account in the name of the bank and write a check off of that to pay off the other guy. And then turn around and give you a mortgage agreement, another contract. right after they said that the note was paid off. Otherwise, write a check. Why not write a check off of it, right? Because a bank can check kite, can it? And then they was writing bad checks, right? That's the way it works. So that's all that happened. And then they call them U.S. government bonds right here. There was no such thing. There was no such thing as a U.S. government. There was no such thing as a U.S. Treasury right here. In their Constitution, there was a Treasury of the United States, but not a U.S. Treasury. They switched everything, folks. They just changed the name of everything. They just reversed it. That's all they did. And once they did that, they had complete control. So right now, Biden, Kamala, and all them, they're not creating a coup. There's no coup going on. Trump didn't restore any kind of constitution. That's what he was supposed to do the first day, is change all the names back from U.S. Congress to Congress of the United States. Our government would have accepted that, no problem. But they didn't fix it. And we told them last week, we told you, they didn't fix it. They didn't go back to the Treasury of the United States. They went back to U.S. They stayed with U.S. Treasury. So everybody is wrong. And when you're all wrong, now you got to fix it and go back to right if that's what you want. That's what has to happen. Okay? So thanks for listening to the 210th broadcast of the T Rose Show. Hope you like this. And then I'm going to show you next week, I'll show you the jurisdiction that the government of the United States of America has, what happened, and based on this particular T Rose Show, remember this T Rose Show because we're going to do a progression into chain of title, what happened back in the day, and why we did what we did. All right. So thanks for listening to the 210th broadcast of the T Rose Show. We will see you next week.